I generally think of myself as a fan of anime and manga, but if I had to say what my favourite manga and anime is right now, it would be My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia as some people like to call it. If you don't know what the story of this anime is, then why are you here? Okay, I guess I have to explain the story of this show, otherwise none of this video is going to make any sense. My Hero Academia is centered around the show's main character, no surprise there. But the main character in question is this lad, Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku, as a lot of people tend to call him. Midoriya lives in a society when 80% of the population are born with special superpowers, or quirks as they call them. Deku desperately wants to be a superhero and to protect people, however there's one problem. He is one of the 20% of the population that does not have any form of superpower. Both his parents have superpowers, but he didn't inherit either of them. Because he's quirkless, a lot of kids at his school bully him, particularly this blonde geezer here. This egotistical maniac is called Katsuki Bakugo, who, unlike Midoriya, was born with the perfect quirk. In case you can't see it in this image, he has the power to create explosions from his sweat. I know that sounds disgusting, but it's actually really cool. Being someone who was born without superpowers, Deku tends to idolize a lot of heroes. However, there is one hero in particular that he idolizes the most. The number one pro hero, All Might. One day Midoriya meets his favorite hero and finds a shocking secret about his quirk. When that happens, All Might decides to pass his quirk onto Midoriya, and Midoriya immediately gets superpowers. The unfortunate thing is that Midoriya's body is not suited to having a quirk, so he can't use All Might's quirk without severely damaging himself. But eventually, with All Might's help, Midoriya manages to land himself a spot in the number one school for pro heroes, UA High. And that's basically how the whole show goes. Midoriya gets up to a lot of misadventures, which includes fighting against villains and learning a lot more at school, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, but hopefully that was enough. But here, today's video is not to talk about the anime specifically. We're going to be talking about the new My Hero Academia video game that's coming out in October this year. My Hero Academia One's Justice. I don't think I've ever been this excited for a fighting game in my life. This game, I am so looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the E3 trailers and I can't wait to see more from it. This video begins a series where I will be analysing everything we know about this game leading up to the month of October when it will finally be released. Again, really looking forward to it. In this video we will be going over the full roster of 20 characters, at least I think so, and we'll be analysing who they are, how they play in the series, and how they will actually play in the game, and what significance they have, and what their quirks are, and basically everything. But if you look here, you'll see we have the official roster layout. This is the one taken from E3, so we only have a certain few characters. Using this layout though, I was able to look at all the other reveal scans and all the other confirmed characters and create a general roster layout, which is right here. Sorry for its low resolution. But I will be going over absolutely every character in the roster, at least every character I think will be in the roster, and analysing how they will play. But let's get started with who might possibly be the most obvious character on this list, Midoriya himself. Now, I touched on his quirk briefly, but Midoriya's quirk, the actual name of it, is One for All, the same as All Might's, which basically grants him superpowers, like super strength, super speed, super jumping height, super everything. But as I said already, he cannot control it. But the way the story mode, which we will touch on in another episode, begins is when he's first training to actually let his body cope with the quirk. And as it stands right now, Midoriya can now use the quirk without properly breaking his arms, but he can't use it to the fullest power, otherwise he will. In One's Justice, Deku's arsenal includes techniques like rush combos, anti-aircraft techniques, and shockwaves. Overall, he's a very balanced character. However, he has a transformation called the Full Cowl state. When he enters the Full Cowl, his attack is increased. Now let's do Bakugo. As I mentioned before, Bakugo's quirk involves him being able to produce a nitroglycerin-like sweat from his palms and creating explosions. This is a quirk that is very, very effective in the show and just as effective in One's Justice. Bakugo is very high in attack and speed and has a wide attack range with his explosions. He's good for variety, and one of his overall aspects is that he's able to change trajectories in the air by blasting explosions. The next character is Ochako Uraraka, who is one of Midoriya's best friends in the anime. Her quirk allows her to cause anything she touches to float in the air. Uraraka's motivation for becoming a hero is to earn money, which sounds a bit selfish, but it's actually not. Her family struggles to get by with what they have, so she just wants to earn money so she can support them. In the game, her quirk can be used very helpfully. She can cause her enemies to float, making them completely defenseless and open for combos. Another thing I need to mention is that in this game, the environment is completely destructible. If you've seen the trailers for the game, you'll know that. But one thing you might not know is that Uraraka can use her quirk to float the debris from the destroyed stage and use it to fire at her opponent. Next we have another one of Midoriya's best friends, Tenya Ida, a smart boy who comes from a very long line of heroes. His brother is a pro hero called Ingenium, and his quirk allows him to run super fast with the engines on the back of his legs. Obviously, his quirk makes him one of the fastest characters in the game, but there's another thing we need to know about Ida. Even though he's fast and powerful, he has a transformation called the Recipro Burst state, which increases his attack and speed. However, it wears off after he gets hit. Next up we have one of the more interesting characters in the show, Shoto Todoroki. His quirk is called half hot, half cold. From his right side he can control ice, and from his left side he can control fire. However, for a vast majority of the series he only ever uses his right side. His father is the number 2 pro hero Endeavor, and Todoroki resents him, so that's why he never uses the fire powers that he got from his father. With One's Justice though, Todoroki is like Bakugo when it comes to very good and variety. However, he is much better. He has some nasty range on him, and he has 2 overall status effects. With his right side, he can ice up his opponent to stop them from moving, and from his right he can shoot fire damage, which damages people over time. Next up we have one of my favourite characters from the show, Tsuyu Asui. Her quirk is called Frog, which is very simple. She can basically do everything that a frog can, which includes extending her tongue to a long length, climbing walls, and jumping really high. In One's Justice, Tsuyu isn't very powerful, but using her tongue she can attack from a distance. She isn't very physically strong, but she is very advantageous. Our next character is Denki Kaminari. His quirk allows him to discharge electricity that is stored up inside his body. Kaminari is a very good all-rounder in One's Justice. Not only can he attack at a physical range and shoot electricity, he can also use his electric powers to lay down traps on the field. However, there is one teeny tiny little problem. An important aspect of Kaminari's character in My Hero Academia is if he overuses his quirk and goes over his watt limit, his brain short circuits, and he becomes a huge idiot for a little while. And this function is transferred over into One's Justice, so be careful. Moving on, we have another character called Momo Yaoyorozu. She was one of the 4 students in UA who got into the hero course based on recommendations, another one being Shoto Todoroki. Her quirk allows her to create anything she wants from her skin as long as she knows its structure. Momo is a bit of an odd character, in the sense that the fact that her fighting style completely can be changed during a battle. One of her abilities is, depending on how long you hold a button, depends on what kind of weapon she will produce and what weapon she will fight with. Depending on what weapon she uses depends on what her fighting style is. She's just dependent. That is all for now, everyone. There is going to be more than one part to this video. In the next episode we will be going over more of the characters that might possibly be in this game, and we will also be going over story events and other things to do with this game in the future. I really don't know. We'll have to see until then. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you press that like button and subscribe to my channel. And for now, I will see you all later. Bye guys.